This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode does not contain spoilers to our knowledge. There are discussions surrounding bullying, sexual assault, eating disorders, microaggressions towards marginalized communities, including POC and BIPOC. For full list, please see show notes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing the 2004 cult classic. This is Mean Girls, directed by Mark Waters and written by Miss Tina Fey.
And it's also based on the book Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman.
So I have so many confessions about this movie. And the first one that I will say is that I had never watched this movie all the way through without interruptions, without it being unedited before last night. Last night was the first time I saw this all the way through.
I was shocked when you told me that this morning because we reference it so much through memes, through like GIFs/GIFs, however you say it. I mean, we went to the Broadway. We went to the Broadway with the original cast. I mean, so when you said you're like uninterrupted, blown. Well, that must have been your how you reacted when I told you I never saw A Knight's Tale, or like half the movies we've done so far.
Well, when you suggested doing this movie, I was like, ooh, yes, because I knew I was sitting on this like knowledge that I had, my behavior was going to be like very interesting for you. So what I did this morning is I made a list of all the movies that I was interested in when this movie came out. So I fully admit, this is my confessions, that I missed this movie when it came out. And instead, I was very obsessed with Saved, Eurotrip, Garden State. I Heart Huckabees came out during this time. And then Shrek 2, Life Aquatic, Team America.
Fuck yeah. Although not fuck yeah right now.
50 First Dates and Shaun of the Dead. So that is where I was in 2004. Like, that's where my head was. I was not in the 2004 that was Mean Girls. What is it? Confessions of a Drama Queen? Or Shop. I'm not sure.
Confessions of a Shopaholic was based on
one of the confessions was in 2004. I did not see 13 Going on 30, Princess Diaries 2, New York Minute, Cinderella Story, First Daughter, Ella Enchanted, The Prince and Me, Chasing Liberty. I didn't see any of those. So I just missed out, right? So that's like the bad bitch genre. I was not in the bad bitch genre. I was in the very stuck up, pretentious kind of side. So I missed this classic. That's what I'm saying. So I'm rectifying that now. So I am so stoked to go through this with you, Jess, because you love this. And if
you're in like the highbrow part of like New York Magazine, and I'm just like slumming it.
It was a mistake, obviously. Like, I am not saying that, like, am I better?
I feel the other way. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm not, like, this cultured person. I like this shit. Like,
it's the TikTok sound of, like, how do you feel to be, like, an elitist New Yorker? And, like, I feel awesome. Like, it feels awesome. I don't want to say that because it doesn't, because I missed out on this gem. But I am glad that I get to watch it as an adult and view it through an adult lens with you, Jess, who loved it. And if I remember correctly, saw this in the theater.
Yeah, we won't age myself of how old I was when I saw it in the theater, but I definitely saw it in the theater. And I enjoyed it. I had fun. It's still quotable to this day. But that being said, as we've been doing, like watching certain things as an adult, it's twofold, right? Because it's like, is it a cult classic? Yes. Did it age well? Not so much. And in a lot of aspects, and in one specific aspect, it actually did age pretty well. But in the sense of I usually, like, all the rewatches have been, like, on one of those, like, movies we love. So the stuff that didn't age well, I forgot about because it's so edited out. Like, you have the hard R's, you have the homophobia when it comes to lesbians, not so much Damien. Like, everybody praises Damien, but, like, you forget about, like, some of the social, like, just where society was in 2004 still, even with Will and Grace at, like, the front of, and at the lead in prime time, but it was still so much work still needs to be done. So it's not even like a past thing. It still needs to be done. All the microaggressions toward people of color and this, I was just like, ooh, there is no way this would have been produced now or gotten by a writer's room.
And also, like, why?
Why?
I just go back to that. Like, why did it have to? Because film is a reflection of society. So, like, that is what society was like at that time. Like, that's like sociology, whatever. But why were we like that? Like,
yeah.
I think that's more of, it's like, why did we think that was funny? Because it's not Tina's fault. It's not the author's fault because it's based on a book. Like, it's just what society thought was funny at the time, and it is now. It is now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we still use the memes. I mean, we were talking about that prior to the episode. It's just like it's so ingrained in our culture, or at least specifically, you can say with like a millennial culture, or like people, or even Gen Z who grew up with like millennial siblings, or like whatever the transition is. The same thing could be said with Harry Potter, showing younger generations stuff that people watch growing up. But it's still like you had said, it had been a while since we all have done a full scene, like a full watch through. But then when you have the GIFs and the memes and the videos, and you kind of, pull from like these pop culture references anytime a current situation is going on, you feel like you've watched the movie a million times.
Yes. The entire movie can be broken up into memes. Basically the whole thing. But I remember a very specific time on Tumblr, Super Hulock Tumblr, where it was, pictures of River, and it was like her hair is so big because it's full of, like,
oh yeah.
So it all comes back together. So it's all very important. So even
on TikTok now, you're like, let's rock this bitch, and then everybody's like, especially like not just TikTok, but like any fandom with Book Talk, you're matching the sounds with like the characters. You're like, oh, that would totally be X, Y, or Z. So I mean, it's still like very, like we said, very ingrained in our culture today.
Well, and every Halloween, of course, we have Lindsay doing her voiceover of Girl World and the rules. So that being said, Jess, take us through this movie, please.
I think it's important that we just run through the characters. You have Katie. She's a homeschooled student. Well, she was homeschooled until transferring to North Shore her junior year of high school. Then you have the three plastics. You have Regina. You have Gretchen. You have Karen. You also have Damien and Janice, who are BFFs and, background. Also, Janice used to be best friends with Regina at middle school. And then you have Tina Fey as the math teacher. You have Tim Meadows as the principal, and we get Aaron Samuels, who October 3rd, everybody knows is Mean Girl Day, or if you don't, now you do. And I feel, and then like you have Katie's parents who have been working overseas in Africa for the last 16 years, and then she gets that was just like, I feel like that should be that I wanted to question was then all of a sudden she got tenure at Northwestern, but I thought you had to be with a university for X amount of time to get tenure. So then I started overthinking and thinking, well, maybe she was doing the studying in Africa under Northwest. I want to talk to Sam about that. I was like, how does tenure work in a university?
Well, if you want to be a little more like nitpicky about it, it is weird that it is a very American way of thinking to be like, I lived in Africa. Like, there are so many countries in Africa. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like when it is a European pet peeve. European listeners, I hear you. When Americans say like, I'm going to Europe, because it's like a whole fucking continent. It's like, okay, where are you going? like, oh yeah, I'm going to summer in Europe. It's like, okay, yeah, okay.
I studied abroad in Europe for this.
Yeah, it's
No,
like, where did you
I studied
go?
in Spain.
Yeah, where did you go? It's the same thing with Africa. It's like,
and it's regionally completely, no matter, like,
yeah. So
it's
like,
a huge fucking continent.
yeah. So like, Katie, where were you? Because I'm looking at your pictures. I can generalize, but, and I'm not going to, but I could. So I don't know. It is just you can very much tell that the writers are American, and it is a pet peeve of international listeners. I hear you. I had to say it.
Do you think, I mean, I know we're not getting into the movie just yet, but I'd like to think that you see more of that representation in the writer's room now, or like at least research to say somebody's lifting their hand up to like, I don't think we just have to be more accurate in portrayals of things. And that's still, I mean, even we talk about that in our Moana episode a little bit, the wrongs that were wronged and how, that studio is working toward progressing to be more inclusive and to be more accurate in the portrayal of cultures. Okay, so now we hit our main characters. Of course, you get into like the social structure later into the movie, but here we are at the beginning, and Katie walks in. She's walking into her first day of school.
Wait.
She's been home.
She almost gets hit by a bus. We cannot do this very lovely bookend situation that we have here. It's bookend storytelling where we have the foreshadowing twice through of the bus. And then so in the very beginning, Katie steps off the curb and almost gets hit by a bus.
Right.
Very
so
poetic.
She almost gets hit by a bus, doesn't, keeps walking, goes into school. She has only known homeschool her whole life. She's been with different cultures, very community centric cultures. You find that out where she's like, if you go to the bathroom, you just go do what you want to do. Or if you're getting educated, everybody's being educated at the same time. And she thinks everybody's going to be warm and accepting. And she's like, hi, you might have heard about me. Nobody gives a fuck. This isn't Buffy's high school. I'm new here. And she's like, touch me again, I'm going to fucking kill you. And here we are. She's like, oh, this isn't anything what I thought it was going to be. And even when she gets home from school that day, her parents are like, oh, are the kids nice? She goes, nope. She goes, but did you make friends? Yep. And they're so confused also, because I think that also shows that how long that they've been away from the culture that, oh, what do you mean people aren't nice? You're new. Very relatable, that bathroom eating scene by yourself. Been there. That was like, ugh, felt that.
That's another bookend scene that is mirrored very completely after Katie falls out of favor. I liked the German teacher yelling at us in the beginning. It was just like a very nice, I was just like, oh, yes, just in case I, thought I was over being yelled at by German women.
No,
back at it. I like how Katie kind of says that, like, not trusting kids kind of turns them into a bully by, like, suppressing all of everybody's freedom, kind of leaves them with no way to express themselves by having to, like, regiment everything that they do. So they kind of turn on each other and turn into bullies. I thought that was really interesting, how they kind of put that in at the very beginning. Too Gay to Function. How do we feel about Too Gay to Function?
I'm kind of like...
Is it so culturally ingrained in us as a joke that it is okay?
I kind of feel like I'm with Janice, where it's like, it's only okay if I say that. Like, and not towards a general community. Like, it's just like when you talk shit, I don't want to say talk shit, but it's like, there was a part at the end of this movie where they were like, have you ever talked shit about your friends behind their back? And I was kind of like... But I've said it to their face also. So that there was like so that was also like, well, no, because I was like, hey, get your shit together. What's your life plan? And I also said it to like my other friend, like, what's her life plan? So I feel like we've all been there. I don't feel like that's a form of bullying, or like when you have family, you're like, it's okay if you talk shit about your family, but not anybody else. I don't know. I do partly think that it's just like, they're just like the microaggressions in this movie, that where is the line, I guess. And that's like the whole conversation.
Yeah,
Yes.
this whole movie could be like, where's the line? Yeah, to get a function, but God, do I love Lizzie Kaplan. I love Lizzie Kaplan so much. I love that she was like based on Kelly Osbourne for like her look. It's just fantastic. I went through all of the like facts that you should know. I went on Reddit for facts I should know. I got them. So I'll sprinkle them in as they come up.
I can't wait because I didn't do any of it.
I'll sprinkle them in as they come up or as I remember them. But yeah, Lizzie Kaplan's look was based on Kelly Osbourne, and Janice is a real person, and it was the first musical guest in SNL, and that is why Tina did that. So that is another one that I would just sprinkle in there. I like the health class that we get. Don't have sex and you will die. Very good. I cackled to the moon and back, to the moon and back when when Regina is introduced, right? And she's being described and she's saying like she's flawless, her hair's insured, whatever. Her favorite movie is Varsity Blues. I like to the moon. I was cackling. And then I started doing the impressions and then it was just over for me. Like, I don't want Yola. I was done.
That's such a good one.
Oh my God. I was just like, Varsity Blues. Oh my God, Varsity Blues. Editor Sam, do you remember Varsity Blues? I don't want your life. I don't want your life. It turned into this whole thing. So it was really, really fantastic. I like the rundown that we have of like Karen, Gretchen, and Regina and just like their intros too. I have seen articles that suggest that Janice is the villain here or that Katie is the villain here. And have you also seen these?
I've heard the Katie ones, not the Janice ones.
I've seen, I was on fucking Reddit, man. And Reddit was
That's
all
where all
like,
the shit is, apparently.
Yeah. They were like, Janice is a bad friend. She was never really friends with Katie. She just wanted to use her as an in to get her revenge on Regina. And after like everything with Regina, it like this whole like
well,
thing.
that's immediately how it starts off, where she doesn't have any friends, and then she was just asking for directions, and she's like, "Oh, it's in the back building," and she's like, "I'm your friend. Would I try to get my friend in trouble?" No, you just talked to me 5 seconds ago. That doesn't make you my friend. But like maybe that's just me being an adult.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I asked you for directions. That's nothing to me.
It is interesting. So maybe kind of have that in the back of your head as we go through.
But spiraling from that, I think that's a good tipping point of like Katie even says, I know, I'm going to do that throughout the whole thing, even says in that moment internally, she goes like, who am I to bite the hand that feeds me, basically, because she's so desperate for friends. She's so desperate for inclusion in this place that isn't accepting to her, that isn't nice to her. Like, she, in a way, is like Gretchen, where Gretchen is highly aware, at least. It's better to be included than to be on the outs. And Katie kind of did that in her own way. She's like, well, it's better to have friends than to be rocking solo. So, like, you see that, like, lack of self-confidence a little bit there and uncertainty of this, like, new world that she's entering.
It's very true. And like so relatable. I think part of the staying power of this movie, just taking away anything that is problematic, is that I think everyone went through at least some part of this if you went to like an American high school situation.
And even if that wasn't the situation, and that was what I was going to say, was like the thing that did age well is like that mean girl mentality or mean person mentality, like that's still, like, as much as you like to pretend it doesn't exist, it still exists. And it doesn't just exist in a school system either.
No, it doesn't. But in the school system, damn, does it start early. It starts way earlier. So I started getting bullied in 6th grade. I started getting bullied really hard in 6th grade. But the bullying kind of started by the older kids, not the kids in my class, in 5th grade. Yeah.
Mine started in 6th grade by the kids in my class.
Yeah. So, because like I moved, so I was being bullied.
Fucking moving.
I was being bullied by the older kids when I was in 5th grade, and then I moved, and then I moved, and then I was the new girl for a little bit, but then like I'm just weird. And then I was bullied very, very badly until I was low-key bullied by the same people from 6th grade until high school, until senior year of high school. Yeah.
It's always the same. And they're also the same people who are probably like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Do you want to like lean into my pyramid scheme?
Yeah, they did. They did. They also said like, hey, do you want to come to the high school reunion? And I said, hey, if I wanted to talk to you, I fucking would.
I must love you so much.
I did. Full stop. Send. And they haven't bothered me about paying dues or anything. It's been quite nice.
Why should you? Why am I going to give you money? Why am I going to give people money who hate me?
Yeah.
Why am I going to, and it goes back to like, just like the people you talk about. If I wanted to talk to you, I would. You'd be in my little text. I'd be texting you. I'd be DMing you.
They don't have phones very, very much in Mean Girls, which is really, really nice. Phones are minimum. Because and it's fantastic. I bring that up because I really want to make sure that we touch on the three-way caller trauma. It is trauma. It is middle school trauma that is, but we are not there yet. We are in the cafeteria, and the cafeteria does the wonderful thing that is very cliquey and tropey and breaks everything up for us. We have some gross, eating disorder jokes, but then we have Regina saying like, go shave your back. And the way that she says it is just so like, it's like ASMR. I just love it. It's just fantastic. Rachel McAdams is really great here. Like I have no criticism for Rachel McAdams, just fantastic. Actually, I would say the acting,
in general is just like such a great character actor too. Her whole resume is just, it's beautiful.
It really is. Something that is, I don't know. Do you think fetch is a beautiful word? Do you like that?
I think I love it. I would still say, so it's a positive, it's in a positive connotation. And it's just like the girls who get it,
So the whole Regina, Katie, Gretchen, and Karen lunch like thing. That whole meet situation is in itself a meme. Like, oh, so you agree that you're really pretty? Like, you can't just ask people why you're white. Like, all of that is a meme. So it's all pretty fantastic. That is the first mention that we have of fetch. I numbered them. So that is the first one. I really, really enjoyed that. Also the Danny DeVito joke later on in the bathroom. Like, it's not like... It is not funny, but I laugh at it every single time.
I'd say it to people. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, and I know that Danny DeVito himself would think that it is like funny. Like, he's a wonderful man. Like, we love Danny DeVito, always Sunny, yes. But it is just like, really, that's so mean. That would really hurt my feelings if somebody said that to me because I am quite short. I'd be like, oh my God. No.
And that, like, I was trying to be like, where did it come from? Like, that's the comment that he wanted to say. To like, because, I feel like at first I feel like he meant it with love, but then rewatching it, I was like, I think he didn't want her bothering them. So I was like, what was she wearing? She's wearing like a vest and like a pantsuit.
Yeah.
And her hair's
like,
tied back.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
I'm laughing now.
It's just so funny. It's just so funny. We have girl world rules. We have rules of feminism. We have this whole thing with Katie and math. How do we feel about this?
Well, I wanted to ask you, I guess it's a question for the end. So I'll hold that thought. But I think it's a movie that shows, it's the portrayal of people aren't going to like you if you're smart, which is why she starts dumbing herself down, just to get Erin's attention. So she's like, oh, you want to tutor me? Which is why I loved throughout the whole tutoring. She's like, wrong. But I do feel like some of, depending on where you went to school, there is that, the smart people are the quote unquote nerds, and that's not cool. I was lucky that that wasn't the case at my high school. Like, our jocks had better GPA. Like they were in, they had 4.2s, and I was like, straddling at a 3.8. So, I think it's different for everyone. It's the stereotype that you see in Clueless and that you had brought up before recording Jawbreaker. It's the stereotypes that people have that are out there, and they're stereotypes for a reason, because they do exist in some places.
They really do. And you know what is going out of style in some places is shopping malls. And this whole get in loser, we're going shopping mall sequence took me straight fucking back to going to the mall with my friends and just thinking that you're hot shit, right? Just thinking that you're hot shit walking around the mall. Oh my God. All of it. It was just so much fun. I think my note here is the mall. It looks like a relic, because the way that they are looking in at the fountain, she's like, this is like the watering hole, and everybody starts like looking like animals and stuff. I was just like, this reminds me of the way that the malls were portrayed in the last season of Stranger Things, because the malls really new in the 80s. I was like, oh my God, it's and it was like, oh, old, because I associate malls with old now.
Yeah. I mean, I still go to, I love a mall. It was one of the things that I really missed during COVID, was just, I don't even have to buy anything. I love putting my headphones on, or one headphone on, safety people.
Safety.
I would say, like, I'm going to go for a lap, and I do the first and I do the bottom. I also am the person who I like trying on clothes before purchasing them. So I'd like to try them on in the store, and then I'd go online and order it. So when I knew nobody else had touched the clothes, it was just weird. I still like them all. But it's sad if you go to them, because there's so many empty.
They're going out, right?
They're going out. E-commerce, there's such a focus because, hey, you don't have to. I think that's that's just like a COVID thing that people realized. We can, like, how can we save even more money if we could function with online sales? Yeah, but it is, anytime you see like a mall scene now, it really feels, you kind of, it's no longer just mall rats of the 90s. Like,
it feels dated. Regina's house kind of felt a little bit dated, but that's just because, like, whatever. But Amy Poehler, oh my God, Amy Poehler. She's a cool mom, right? She's a cool mom. There's no alcohol in this, but if you want a little, it's fine. Because if you want to drink, I'd rather you just do it in the house.
Did you know parents like that?
Yes, I knew parents like that. Yes,
right.
I knew
under supervision.
Yeah,
as long as you're not driving anywhere tonight, you can.
Yeah. Two parents like that, and they were pretty amazing. So fantastic. Like, the sisters dancing to what?
Khalees's milkshake.
My milkshake. She's got the radio on. And of course, we have all of Amy Poehler's like really fantastic scenes. The way that they got the dog to bite her nipple is by pinning the sausage underneath her shirt so that the dog would bite the nipple. She said it was very aggressive, but also like hysterical. That's how they did that. Just really funny stuff. But then we get the burn book. The burn book, I kind of have it.
Oh,
there's my finger. Yeah, it's there. I have it hanging up. Jess and I went to the Broadway show, so I have the burn book. There's my version.
R.I.P. COVID killed it.
R.I.P. COVID killed it. But I knew girls that did this in middle school. The same girls that ended up really bullying me.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah, shocking. Had stuff like this in their like houses and stuff. So seeing this was just like, oh my God, middle school trauma. But the way that Janice says, like, oh my God, you're in it, you have to like steal the book and tell me everything that's happening, like with the burn book and everything.
Yeah, she really was like using Katie the whole time, and Katie's just gullible.
Yeah. So Katie doesn't know any better. See, this is the thing, like Reddit, God bless Reddit. But Janice is like, steal the book, hang out with them, tell me everything that we're going to do, like everything that they're doing, that we're going to sabotage them. So she's like using them all as the revenge plot. I'm not saying that Janice isn't upfront about this, but we don't know the extent of like Janice's trauma with Regina until like the end, right? So Because they just say, like, something happened.
Well, and it's sprinkled in because Damien would say, like, oh, she had every girl. Can you imagine every girl signing a petition about you?
No. Yes, I can. At 13? Yes.
At 13? Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Yes, I
definitely,
can.
like, it's just like, it's like, because you can't just be like, I'm over it, because you're not. Because if you were so over it and indifferent about it, you wouldn't be going through this whole revenge plot.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's just a way. The two types of evil. The two types of evil are what? The people that do evil and the people that see evil and
Do nothing about it.
do nothing about it. Okay. I have an issue. Jesse, you and I talked about it. I have an issue with the way that teacher Miss Tina Fey is presented. And it is not a criticism about Tina. It's not a criticism about the book. It's not a criticism about anything. It is just a criticism about teachers in general. Okay. Tina, as a teacher, is portrayed as divorced, sad, broke. Her car sucks. She runs extracurricular. She has a job at the mall to pay for stuff. And she's like just burnt out and just miserable, right? Also, the principal kind of like creepily, I will say, sexually harasses her only because he does it on a school setting, and that's gross. If they were two consenting adults outside of it, that's fine. But like, she has her shirt off and like, you know, she just like the way teachers' lives are presented as bleak. I know it's accurate, but it's also just like, damn, you know, like, damn, that it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. And I know that a group of people like watching this when it came out, like, as children, are just like, oh, as a teacher, whatever. But as an adult, you're just like, damn, why is it still like this?
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, because, like, even when Tina Fey sees them at the mall, everybody's working their job. She's like, oh, I know this must be really awkward. I'm a person. I made a joke. You can laugh. I get that it's weird because I'm a teacher. Because, like you said, as a kid, if you saw somebody outside of work, if you saw like your teacher out in life, you're like, oh, my worlds are colliding. This doesn't exist.
Since we're talking about trauma, we're talking about middle school trauma. I have severe middle school trauma of three-way calls of somebody on the other line while somebody else is talking to you and they're talking to you about something and you say something and then the other person that's been silent the whole time gasps and then it's just drama at the skating rink. That's what it was for me exactly. That is my specific experience. Drama at Dreamland. But did you have three-way calls situations like this?
Not to my recollection. Middle school was not 8th grade. You know, when you're graduating, that it got a little bit better. And then everybody, and like in hindsight, like, why was I so focused on trying to be friends with these people who were nasty to me for 3 fucking years? Oh my gosh, I finally found friends. Again, they were shitty. Or like, I feel accepted. It was finally like, you got accepted through, you felt like you conquered a battle. You battled this whole time and you made it. And now it was just like ripped from me all over again. And again, in hindsight, I'm like, who was I? I was not a confident person. So I was like taking those morsels of like that approval and acceptance and everything. We all have trauma. We all have the deep middle school trauma. It's deep. I'm just gonna laugh it off as this was like, oh, it wasn't anything.
Okay, so just tell me about October 3rd, Girl World, and Halloween.
October, my Mean Girls. Okay, so I don't know. I love Halloween. Some people do, some people don't. Luckily Book Talk has opened me up to this, and Con Life has opened me up to it, that you don't have to wait till Halloween to dress up of the people that you like to like portray. But at this time, and even like by society standards, it still feels like Halloween and October in general is the only time that it's socially acceptable to dress up. It's socially acceptable to dress a little I'll say promiscuous, because I don't want to slut shame, but that's what they do in the movie. It's all the slut shaming. You know, that's also something that, you know, looking back, you're like, why are we slut shaming in general? And even one of the other girls was like, I use a super tampon because I have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina. Why is there a rumor saying that I'm a whore? You know, or with the 3-way call, oh, they don't like Karen because she's a slut. And Karen's like, what is happening? She's not. She's like, she kissed her first cousin. Like, that doesn't make you a slut.
Tell me about the party, because she's a mouse, duh.
She's a mouse, duh. Katie didn't get the memo, so she dresses up what she knows Halloween to be scary, goes to the party, and then that's when the mean girl, like, what Katie finally learns about the mean girls shit that Regina is on. So she sees Regina kissing the guy that she likes when she said she was going to tell him that she liked him too. And she's already like kind of getting indoctrinated into the mean girls stuff with the first 3-way call. Aren't you mad that Gretchen told me? And she's like, I guess it was a little bitchy, but like, she likes attention. Like, ugh. And then you just kind of see it flesh out. So she immediately goes to Janice and Damien, says like, shit's on, we're fucking going, like, this is, how do we do it? Because she goes, I know how it'd be handled, I know how everything would be handled in Animal World, but this is Girl World, and you have to play a little, like, conniving. I hate saying it, but like, I hate saying it, but that's what happens, you know? She's like, what makes the person who they are, and how do we take them down?
Yeah, and how do you take them down? You take Regina down by getting rid of Erin, getting rid of her hot body. I do like that they put it in like quotes. They were like standard hot body.
Yeah.
And then get rid of the army of skanks, which is like, okay.
Again,
like, okay. And how do they do that? They have to crack Gretchen, right? They're like, we just have to crack Gretchen. She's the one.
Say crack again. Crack.
Crack. It's just good.
You know what that scene reminded me of in The Lion King, where they're like, say it again, and they go, Mufasa.
It's just good. I didn't mention fetch number 2. Fetch number 2 is when they're in the mall. Fetch number 3.
Oh, that's where she starts rolling her eyes.
Yes. Fetch number 3 is around the talent show. Yeah, the Jingle Bell Rock, which the outfits are plastic. It is just a funny little, like, they're the, you know, they never call themselves the plastics. They never refer to themselves as the plastics.
Everybody else
does. But
right.
These Jingle Bell outfits are made of plastic. But we get the iconic, I say iconic in quotes, just because like Ariana Grande, the whole thing, with the music and the whole thing. It reminded me when the music cuts and Lindsay starts singing, it reminded me 1,000% of Burlesque. When the music cuts and Christina starts singing, I was just like, this is a trope that I didn't know I liked. I didn't know I liked this trope, but it's a trope and I like it.
I didn't even realize it was a trope. Oh, I love when Christina sings in Burlesque.
Right? But like, obviously,
so
if it happened twice.
I guess so.
We also get the story of Regina and Janice, as we said, like best friends, 8th grade, got jealous, why obsessed with me, lesbian, all of that stuff.
And I got defensive for Janice in that moment because like as girls, we get like, I would be upset too. Like, oh, you're making, not in a jealousy, like a romantic way, but I'm like, you're focusing all this time for some dick. I mean, obviously they're in 8th grade, but like, even like people we know now, like, don't come running around to me 4 months later because you forgot your friends.
Right. Yes.
Like, so I was like protective of Janice in that moment. Like, and I still think that, like, I don't think it was like a romantic jealousy thing. I think it was like
what
where
the
have you
hell?
been?
Yeah. I understand that too, but I also understand being like 13. Like,
right.
I get it. We love the dance here, right? Like, it's weird, and everyone like says that it's weird with like because they do the whip, you know, and they're in very provocative outfits for like
the
public school
talent shoot. Yeah,
like it's weird. We all, you know, we're moving past that. We're not objectifying. We're moving past. Gretchen cracks her whole thing with like the hoop earrings makes me so sad, right?
I had a pair of white gold hoop earrings from my grandmother.
It's just
I always think of that.
Oh gosh. The gross kind of like weird subplot with the teacher hooking up with the Asian underage girls, gross.
And then they joked about it even. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, well,
it turned out to be true.
Now we have to
Yeah.
investigate What?
I don't like that. I don't really like that at all. But then we have Katie plotting again with Janice, and we have the Swedish nutrition bar situation where they're like, give Regina, okay, like,
The calcium bars.
yeah.
I think it's important that we remember that this is 2004. I remember in 2004, not at least in my house, like not everybody had an individual computer. We had the family computer. We did, we worked on. So now, like I just finished like a mafia book, and there was like some Russian words. So every time I didn't understand something, I would go to Google Translate. And sometimes I'll do that. Like if I learn a new word in German that you send me, I'm like, oh, I don't know that one yet. I'll go over to Google. So Regina doesn't have that capability to know anything else. And to her, it's just a nutritional bar. She doesn't know that Katie is playing the game now. So she's like, oh, she's this innocent bystander, to like go out to Barnes and Noble and look up Swedish.
But she's not. She's being manipulated more or less by Janice to, help her revenge plot. But Katie is kind of growing into her own here. And that scene in particular, Katie is, she says like, I keep talking about Regina and like, I can't make myself stop. Like, and I know I can feel people like getting sick of me and I can't stop. And Janice
she got
is
addicted
like,
to that like 15 seconds of fame high.
Yeah. And Janice is like, you smell like a baby prostitute, of course. And, Katie's wearing the C necklace and Regina's wearing the R necklace. And then we have the whole, like, I saw her wearing army pants and flip-flops. So I started wearing army pants and flip-flops. It is just, I like that there's a self-awareness there of Katie being like, I couldn't stop, but I knew people were tired of me, but I couldn't stop because it had like taken on like its own like thing.
And she didn't know how to stop either because she was turning into the person that she didn't want to be, which was like, and Aaron calls her out on it. He's like, you were a clone of this girl. At least she owns it. She knows she's a bitch. She knows all these things. You're trying to act like you're not. And that's even worse, is that you don't even realize, like, even if she kind of realized it internally, with part of the internal dialogue, by the time it gets to that conversation with Aaron, she's like past that. Even when she's like, was I the new queen bee? And she was supposed to go to the concert with her parents, and she should have just gone to the concert with her parents. But then when she goes and says, come on, like, Janice has this art show I really want to go to. Don't act like when Janice comes around, be like, oh, I forgot. No, like, you used her as the excuse to have your party. And she should have, you know what? And even if they were like, you didn't invite me, at that point, it's a high school party and people just show up. So she could have just said, hey, here's part of the gimmick. Here's my party, or let me go to your art show first and then we'll plan the rage after. Either way, like, my parents aren't coming home till tomorrow. There's just so many different ways that specific situation could have been handled and eliminated and non-existent. But again, here we are. It's a movie.
Well, you're talking about Katie's party. I want to back up just a little bit more and talk about the Swedish bar. So we have a lot of fat shaming here. So, Regina keeps saying that she wants to lose 3 pounds. So the plan is to give her these Swedish bars. And they're like, oh, everybody in Africa reads Swedish. They're like trying, like, oh, it's water weight, da 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 da. And then Regina's like, is butter a carb? And there's this whole like 3-way call situation where Regina is just eating a French bread. She's just eating a loaf of bread. And I remember watching this last night. I was like, gosh, I want some bread. But then we have the really fantastic, like, I can't go out, I'm sick I'm sick. Boo, you whore. But then we have Regina who's in sweatpants, and we have Gretchen being like, you can't sit with us. You can't sit with us. And then Regina being like, well, those rules are like dumb. Like, I made up those rules. And they were like, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this?
They weren't dumb when you wanted them to apply to everybody else. So I understand where Gretchen's frustration was. She's like, because I've been there. You didn't make that exception for me. Like, why is it? So, like, to your point, the fat shaming, but now she's being treated the way she was treating everybody else.
Yes, and she's getting like really, really fat jokes. She's like, sweatpants are the only thing that fits me. And then she gets bumped and she's like, move, fat ass. Like,
well, like the dress was only from like 157. Mm-hmm. You should try Sears. Like, I hated that. And that store really existed.
No, I saw it. Yeah, it was like 135.
Oh, 135.
It was like 135, but the store when we were growing up was 579.
579, which the 579 was right across from the Torrid, and I was like, "Who the fuck did this?" That is like, you know that TikTok sound where you're just gutted. Yeah, that one.
Okay, so now we are back at the party, and the party I think is funny because. Katie's like, cheese, for 8 people. And then it just like turns into a high school rager, which is hilarious. She's 16. Okay, fine.
I mean, but anytime you find out somebody's parents were out of town, you knew the party was safe from the parents and not necessarily the cops. But you just learned to like get out.
I do like that she's pounding like shots because she's nervous. But then she goes up to her bathroom. She's like looking for Aaron the whole time. Like, right. She goes into the bathroom and
she broke the seal.
Yeah, she broke the seal. And she comes out of the bathroom and Aaron is in her room. And I got the ick right away. I was like, wait, ick. But then he says, like, do you want to go downstairs? Like, he says that first. Like, hey, do you want to go downstairs? And she said no. And I was like, okay, well, she said no. Okay, fine. But then I was like, but she's drunk. But I was like, this is her plan. Okay, fine. And then I just went with it.
But I like that scene because it was Aaron like, this is the girl that I wanted to know. Like, he's like, I don't want the plastic girl.
But then he accuses her of being a plastic girl and says, like, you're just a clone of Regina, and then she like throws up everywhere. But that was really, really, really good. And then we have like Janice, right? We have Janice in the car, and I really love Damien here being like, I have a curfew, I can't stop this car, and he's just like slowly driving. He's like, it's 110, it's 110, it's 110. It is just really, really funny. I was just laughing really hard, but it is true here. What she says is like, you're using me for 8th grade revenge. And then what is it? It's like, it's not my fault you're in love with me. You are a mean girl. You're a bitch. And it's like, I want my pink shirt back.
You're a mean girl, Caddy.
You're a bitch. I want my pink shirt back. It's just good. It's just good. It's a nice like fight here, but it is true though. Like, it is. She is using it. It is just the whole thing. It's just a nice little like back commentary to have in the back of our heads. So I do love Regina's scream when she finds out from her like dumb boyfriend or whatever that those bars are to help you gain weight. Like her moment of just like betrayal, frustration, just have to scream it out. Like I've had a moment like, I'm sure we've all had moments like that. It's just really funny to me. I don't know. I was like cackling. But I'm just so fucking tickled that at Fugly Slut. Fugly Slut makes me laugh. Like, I don't know why it is so funny to me, but it is.
I will say, rewatching that today or whenever it was for this episode, I couldn't help but think the brilliance that is Regina George in that moment. She wrote some nasty shit about herself to not be implicated and all, like, that is I praise the queen level. Like, she thought that out, and we love a smart queen, even if she was a bitch, even if she was all like the nasty things, she was smart about it. And she even tried to like get out of it in the gym scene too, where they're like, she's like, I don't think we should be here if we're not victims. And Tina's like, good point. Who's a victim of the, and you even have all the teachers raising their hand that they've been victimized. Of course they've been victimized. You have, it's like her room. They were like, oh my gosh, your room is great. Like it's the master ensuite with the balcony. I looked out the balcony. I was like, ooh, she even has a water view. I don't know where in Indiana has the water view, but like go off. And, they're like, oh yeah, it was her parents. I was like, she manipulated her parents. Like good for her. But I also think of the dad in that scene when they're doing the Halloween, like when they're taking pictures in the room where she's just like crying. It just makes me laugh.
The scene where the principal is confronting all of the girls about the burn book, Gretchen tells him exactly what is going on. She tells him right up front. Gretchen says that they didn't write it, but Regina wrote it, and she's trying to frame all of them. Gretchen says that like verbatim to the principal, and he's just like, no, okay, but it just like totally dismisses her. And like we could have just solved it right there if he had listened and followed up.
Yeah, well, of course, it's like he's like, tell me what happened. She does.
Yeah, that's what happened.
No, I don't like that. I don't. Okay, because why believe a woman?
Yeah,
you're questioning me, but I props to Gretchen. She's like, I don't think my father's gonna like this. Because let's keep in mind, they're juniors, they're minors, and then they keep getting questioned. And she goes, I will not make any further comments unless my parents or my lawyer are present. Like, good on her.
Bad on the Asian hate that we have here with the Asian girls like fighting each other when the burn book comes out that they're both like sleeping with the coach. That's gross. We have the mom pick me up, I'm scared meme. We have a girls gone wild reference. We have a gross black hair joke when the sprinklers go off. And then we have the entire gymnasium scene with the principal and Tina.
Because it's not like, and you had brought this up earlier in the episode, she doesn't have enough jobs going on. She's already like leading mathletes. She's leading the extracurricular. She has her, you know, she's teaching, and she has her job at her. She's bartending 3 times a week. You know, you have to assume as a teacher she has no days off because she's probably getting on like the most money days, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as a bartender. So like maybe Sunday she gets a day of rest. And still has to lesson plan. Where's the guidance counselor? Where's the person who got their, you know, their undergrad, got their master's to do this as their career? Because that should be the person here. You also brought up a good point about how, for the sake of this movie, it is just girls being isolated. But let's not forget, girls aren't the only ones who are also being victimized.
Damien sneaks himself in there. You know, why does it have to be just girls? Like, you know, it was more than, okay, you know, whatever. That's a whole, like, sexist thing. But Tina Fey has to, like, deal with it. You know, because the principal is like, oh, you have a wide set vagina. I can't do this. You know, Tina has to do it.
Some kale shit right there.
Yeah. But, you know, Tina Fey says something that kind of really bothered me. She says, you know, why are you calling yourselves sluts and whores? It makes it okay for men to call you that, too. And it kind of got me thinking about the whole, like, reclaim the word conversation, which I thought was really interesting because, like, people are doing that a little bit, you know, with, like, Slut Walk and, like, Amber does all that stuff. But it was just, like, kind of a weird thing. Kind of a weird thing. The trust falls and the admissions of people, I really love that because we have the diarrhea at Barnes and Noble, and of course we all know that is a documented like thing.
That's a thing. That's like
thing.
Yeah,
it's a real thing to have to poop in a bookstore. So I just love that is in here. She doesn't even go here, but then Janice spills all of Katie's shit. How do we feel about that?
The thing where you know it comes from is that she saw that everybody was being truthful, whether it was like the girl, like even the girl, she's like, I'm sorry I called you fat. Or she says something about like, you don't eat because I hate you, or that one where she's like, whatever it was more along the like, she never apologized for hating her. That's what I rewatching. She was just owning it. She's like, I'm sorry for like having you feel that way. but I still hate you. Like, even that was accepted. Like, that's not going to change. I still hate you. But like, sorry about it. Like, it's not going to change anything. Katie just didn't want to take ownership of anything she had fault in. Like, maybe I understood her hesitation initially with like Miss Norbury of like, if I'm the one who says it, then it's all going to be pinned on me, and I wasn't the only one involved. So if like she wanted to like do it on the side, it just kept going on and on and on. Instead of she's like, look, I did make that comment in passing. Ms. Norbert, like pulled people aside. I go back to a lot of things could have just been handled so differently, because even with Janice putting all this stuff out there, like she did kind of take ownership of like, look, I wanted to help take Regina down. I get that. But I wasn't the only one involved. Not tricky. Regina gets hit by a bus. Nice bookmark moment that we have there. But then we have like disappointed janitor dad from Scrubs. That makes me sad. But he does comfort Katie and like kind of tells her what to do. And Katie now, as I said earlier, is back in the bathroom. So that's the second bookmark and that kind of like closes that part of that story. She's back in the bathroom. I do really like when the cops come and they're like searching and like asking about drugs and stuff. And they're like, we heard you had marijuana tablets. And someone's like, what are marijuana tablets? It's just really funny. But then Katie does like say like, I wrote it. And then, it just, another thing that pisses me off about this whole thing is like the cops had to go and like, search Tina Fey's house. Like that was unacceptable. Like, come on, why do we have to have searching of the house? But then, as you said, Jess, they had to follow up with everything that was written in the book, everything. So, that's great for everybody. We have the mathletes whole situation. And like Katie, doesn't, I'm not going to go to the dance. I'm going to do, you're grounded, but I'm a mathletes, this whole thing, mathletes, the whole subplot with mathletes. When they were doing the questions and stuff for mathletes, all in my head, I was just like, fuck, I hate math. Fuck, I hate math. All of those questions, they're just like, God, I hate math so much. Something that bothered me is why was it like girl on girl for math? And then they specifically, like, I understand what they were saying, like intelligence and like outside, it doesn't matter. We're all like smart, right? Like, right. But why did they specifically make that girl like so unattractive with the mustache and the face? Like I just didn't like, why? Well, then that was the first thing that Kate, like how much growth has Katie had just yet? Because then that's the first thing that she's noticing. Ugh, look at her with her cheap lip gloss and her polyester, whatever. Like she was still focusing on appearances only. So how much growth has she done? Yeah, it was just like this weird thing. But then of course, like the limit doesn't exist. We have the whole, it doesn't exist. The limit doesn't exist. I did like that they got jackets. The jackets was like really, I like that a lot. That was just cute. And then we have the big dance. We love the big dance number. I like the people voting. They're like, I'm voting for Regina because she got hit by a bus. They're like, I'm voting for Katie because she pushed her. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's such a, like, that's how I imagine people vote sometimes. Okay, so I know like the breaking up of the crown, it's very iconic, obviously. But my favorite part about this is the principle, just being like, people don't usually, you don't have to do, you can stop, you don't have to give a speech. Just like the whole time that she's like doing it, he's just like, okay, I'm fucking done. But she does the same thing and She's All That, Taylor Vaughn. She's like, and another thing for all you fuckers who didn't vote for me, and then they pull the plug, but she's still talking. So Katie wins. Like her parents are there. Like they were grounded, but he let her out. It's just so funny. Could you imagine your parents just showing up, and she's not even there? Yeah, she's like doing something academically, doing something else. Yeah, and even she's like, "But I'm grounded. Like I really need to go home." And Tina Fey's like, "You're already out. Like, fucking, you're already out." I love that. So. We have Katie's up there, right? She gets the boy, and then, there's dancing, whatever, everybody's happy. Regina channels everything into sports. Karen does weather.
Gretchen goes to the Asian group.
Yeah,
okay?
she was speaking Thai or something.
Yeah, and then Erin's at Northwestern, and Janice. I have Janice. What is Janice doing?
They're just like chilling. They're just vibing.
Chilling, yeah.
It's like her and Kevin are dating.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
They're just like chilling on the lawn.
And then the cliques are broken.
Yeah, more or less. The cliques still kind of exist because you learn that with Gretchen. But I think everybody kind of felt like there was less animosity because Karen's like part of the media team at school, but like here she was doing like a new friend's hair. And then Regina's walking by with like the girls from the lacrosse team or one of the girls, and they're just like acknowledging each other, like. It doesn't have to be like this crazy batshit thing, you know?
And then we have the younger plastics almost get hit by a bus.
Right.
And boom.
The end. And now
credits.
there's a Mean Girls 2 that nobody acknowledges.
And the musical that we saw.
Oh, so good. And even the musical, I mean, I don't know if they're going to bring it back or if they still have the cup. If they've recorded it, Broadway.com, like they have different platforms. They modernized it to, you know, that where like texts were involved. And so how social media plays a role into like Mean Girls, and like the Mean Girl quote unquote culture is still, like we said in this episode, is still like unfortunately heavily present. In a lot of different aspects, whether it's like still on social media, still in the workplace. I mean, you would think that like, okay, you're adults, but like sometimes it's even worse. It's kind of wild.
This movie really, really brought me back. It brought me back to the time. It brought me back to the mindset. It brought me back to like, just being bullied in like middle school. But also we haven't, and we're at the end, but it is important to acknowledge the fashion throughout this movie. The fashion.
I'm glad you're going there.
Yeah, the fashion is iconic. I wore that shit. That shit is still in style now. Like, it is all back now. I'd wear most of it except for like, you know, some of the shirts. I dig it.
Lindsay Lohan's Katie outfit during this. This is a trope that I love too now that we're talking about it. The slow-mo scene walking down a hall in a high school. Love that. And so Missy Elliott's Past That Dutch is playing. She's on the far left. That outfit with the half zip sleeve and the ruffled mini skirt, I would still wear to this day. Everything that they wore, I would still wear to this day.
Yes, still all the rah-rah skirts. Just oh my gosh, there's everything that they were wearing at the mall. Like just perfect. Yeah, a slow-mo high school walking down. Perfect. Slow-mo high school walking scene, iconic. Love it. Fantastic trope. Good movie. Would recommend with trigger warnings. Iconic. You can absolutely see why it is iconic. And I am so glad that I was able to sit down, take time, watch this unedited as an adult, and really, really, really enjoy this.
I think it's also just like you said, like you can sit down and watch and enjoy, but I feel like it's also really important to see how far we've come also, to look at it a little critically. You know, I think that's just as important. You know, we talk about things not aging well and you're like, ooh, you know, you kind of cringe for yourself in the culture that you're like, we thought this was okay, you know? But it was fun. I'm so glad that you finally got to watch it, even with all its cringe and trauma triggers.
Yeah. Oh, so fantastic. If you like us doing these movie episodes, you're in luck because
we were going to do them anyway.
No, you're in luck because we have several lined up for the future of really, really fantastic ones. So worry not. If you don't like these episodes, I apologize, but they are very fun for us. So
fun. And maybe you get something out of it, or maybe you're like, I've never watched it, but maybe I'll watch it now. You know, because that's what's happening with some of the things that we're watching. Because I haven't watched so many things, but it goes to what Laura said at the top of the episode too. There's so much content out there. By the time you get around to it, something new is there. So you're focusing on the new, and everything just keeps getting pushed further and further back. So Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us for this. Y'all can find us at ACOFAE Podcast on Instagram. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica, and continue to feel free to join us on the journey and share kind thoughts and positive 5-star reviews on your social platforms that you're listening. We appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.